How much of a premium are you willing to pay for your vintage gear?
Nope.
Ooh, this is a good question. Jonathan, let's break into it. It's me, Baxter.
And me, Jonathan.
Casino Guitars. So when you're buying vintage gear, you got a conundrum on your hands.
It's true.
Pickle. Are you buying from a shop, a retail shop, a trusted retail shop that you know and love, like Casino Guitars, like Grunes, like Carter's, like Wildwood, like all the other shops that sell vintage gear every once in a while? Or are you trading on the market's off channel, off of the shop universe? There's two different ways to go, right?
It's true.
Because you are going to pay a premium when you buy it from a store.
Yes.
That's just how it happens. There's a lot of, there's obviously costs going into it. There's the people work there, the insurance, all that junk, but you're theoretically coming with a little bit more safety.
Some assurance.
Assurance
that,
Or are you?
That it, well, you like to think, you think that you were,
Because it's not always the case. Not all shops are equal in that respect. Not every shop does really know the vintage gear. It's tough. Like I consider us still students of it, and we've been doing it for a long time.
Well, I do think that that's tiered too, right? Because I think if you get it from a place that is known for knowing their stuff, you are paying the highest premium. Where maybe it's a little less for like us, like you said, we kind of.
And it's tricky. It's not always just because you meet a bunch of old guys in the shop, like they're gonna know everything. Like I'd say Sean, our youngest guy on the team, is probably the most well versed in some of the components and vintage gear tracking down, of analyzing a fake versus a legit.
I think he's just spent a lot of time learning that stuff,
Well, he's also got that mechanic's mind.
He does.
Too. He can see it, and it's a different thing. So you come from a different cloth, a dirty, fantastic cloth. But here's what I'm gonna. Let's break it down into a few little groups. A, know your gear. When you go into this thing, it's dangerous. So if you don't know your gear, it's a tricky proposition when you're going in to buy really expensive guitars.
Right.
So let's say know your risks.
Yeah.
So no matter if you're buying at a shop or buying on the Facebook marketplaces, which Derek is our warrior of that, and successful almost 90% of the time, I'd say.
I mean, you sort of want to know what the margin is if you buy this guitar and turns out it's a refin. How much value did you lose, right? Because there's some calculus there of, is the risk worth it? Are you losing everything if it's not what you thought? I mean, there's some of those things, right? And you got to measure all that with how much you love the guitar and the enjoyment, and are you investing or are you playing, or what are you going to do?
And that's the thing too, is as we go about this, we'll sort of harken back on this. There is no end all be all of this is the definitive answer of all ways to do this, or we know everything about vintage guitars, or this shop B knows everything about vintage guitars. That is not the case. It used to be that way back in the olden days, but I almost feel like the internet has been the great equalizer, but then also the great enemy of reality and clarity out there too. So there's two sides, but you can learn a lot on your own. You can and do that, and don't think that just because it's a bunch of old stuffy white dudes in the shop that they are the god-all experts on it.
Well, the internet's funny because it mirrors reality, right? You can find anything you want on the internet. You can look at pictures, but you can also get really bad advice and people who you think, they know, but they don't necessarily know. Just because they post it on the internet doesn't mean they're experts or knowledgeable. So you just got the same thing. It is the great equalizer. You could learn everything you wanted to know.
Or if you pick the wrong channel, you can be tainted and we look at it the same as if you're buying a guitar for yourself, we approach that when we're buying a collection for the shop. Too, we have to, it's a risk. It's a risk no matter what you do, and so we go into it with our eyes as open as possible, as much homework as we can do. We got our tool bag to take stuff apart if we need to. Now, if you're buying on a Facebook Marketplace, there is no take-backs, returns usually. Cash is handed off, sale is done. Most retail shops have a 48-hour return sort of type cycle for inspections, but also if it's a vintage piece and you buy it and it's been sold under different auspices, I think any retail shop worth their salt would honor a return if you bought something you found out, oh wait, this cavity was covered and we didn't see that this pickup was not an original. Right. Or something, or there was maybe a refin that you didn't catch on first.
Just missed it or something,
Or a factory refin, those are fun too. So when you go to the great vintage shops, we're gonna go to Nashville for all you got Rumbleseat, Carter's, Grunes. Most of that gear is on consignment.
Yeah.
So they haven't bought it. There's a different. Sometimes there's a different level of dive that goes into. I'm not saying they do this, but because they're held to a high standard. But if pieces are in consignment versus if we're buying it, there's a lot more scrutiny going into the buying part.
Right.
Consignment people want to sell their gear. It's usually brought in. Then the scrutiny sort of happens a little bit after the gear is brought in sometimes.
Yeah.
And it sort of maybe it might take a few weeks, but in that meantime, the piece might have gone up to market too. So it's just
it is tricky. The consignment thing does make it a little different, right? Because when you're buying it, if you're the shop, you're kind of laying out the investment up front. So it's just tricky.
I mean, the key in this too is like, experience within the gear, not necessarily like, your length of time within it, but like just getting your hands on the gear. Starting to sort of like, it's hard to do that when you're buying it sight unseen on the interwebs.
Yeah.
Vintage gear is not only tricky for its forgeries, it's also tricky because some of it's just old. It doesn't mean it's good. Like we get a lot of vintage pieces in here.
I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong about this. This might be my idealistic, like how the world is, and maybe it's not really this way. I feel like there was a generation of people that when they were around and the people mentoring them had these guitars because it's what they bought when they were kids. And now, like if I'm hanging out with somebody, the old thing I've got was a Mexican Telecaster. you know what I'm saying? Like it's a different, we're getting farther and farther removed, so it's a little trickier to go put, like you got to go to a shop that has vintage stuff that they don't mind you looking at it. You know what I'm saying? Like to get your hands on
that
it.
is hard. Like I'm shocked by how many people come into our retail showroom and like, wow, we can actually play all the guitars. I'm like, well, how is she gonna know if you like it?
I don't think that's the norm though. Yeah, I don't think that's the.
I thought that was the norm. And like, there's no like, not sort of standing over you while you play it and watch and make sure.
The white gloves. Handing it to you.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If it's a PRS private stock and not the vintage roller, we're gonna.
Yeah.
That's a white glove scenario. But when you're vintage gear, it's probably got a few dings in it. Unless you come in with your trusty soldering, your tools, and you're ripping out and stealing pickups on the fly, where that's never.
It's a little bit different. Probably not gonna let you pull it apart. But
that doesn't happen
But
yet.
play it, touch it, see it, sure.
Something we live in a sort of a golden age for something else that we were talking with Sean before is that you now have a time where you can take photos of some of the gear you're wanting to buy and maybe actually send it to some of your favorite trusted retail shops, your favorite YouTube cats, and they might be able to help you a little bit. A lot of times it comes with a service fee. Some of the heck times it comes free.
I was going to say the caveat there is a little bit is I don't think you can go out the thing you're buying off Marketplace and expect to get the same assurance as if you were paying the premium for the shop, right? Because at some point you're kind of taking advantage of the shop a little bit for that, right? Now, if you do business, these people are your friends, you know them, you got a relationship, absolutely 1,000%. But if you've never spoken to a shop before and the first thing is, hey, can you tell me if this thing is actually, if everything looks right? Maybe you should expect to pay a little for that service or
Well, speaking of paying for that service, let's talk about the premium itself. Like what are the numbers we're talking about? It can be anywhere from as low as a 20% premium, but I'm going to say almost 100% premium a lot of times. Like because if you're traveling in some of the more affordable vintage gear, like let's say like 70s types of the vintage stuff, you're probably going to pay almost 80 to 100% markup from some of like the really steals you're going to find there on Facebook Marketplace or in some of the.
And you're not talking about like the general like how much the store's marketing it up for. You're talking about what you could maybe get it for from like the person who inherited this guitar or the person who's just getting rid of it versus what once they sell it to a shop and the shop does their thing, what it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, if you can find that in the early stages, it often does really well. Again, like there's a risk and inherent, danger in that, but like if you're willing to take that risk, we highly recommend it. Sometimes you can reap some great rewards. And here's the other thing we've talked about a little bit. Let's say you get something, and you sort of alluded to it earlier, and it's not all original. You paid for it. It's not from a shop. You bought it from, a private seller, and you love the guitar. It has replaced pods.
Victory.
I mean, yeah.
You did it. You won.
I mean, that's the whole point of this thing usually.
I mean, you don't want to get ripped off. You don't want to pay like crazy price for something that's not like the original mint price for this thing that's like player's grade and been repaired and been, or you don't want to do that. But
or if you're on one of the crews and these are some great crews, you met them come through the shop and it's so much fun. The guitar safari cruise, they're on a guitar safari and they're on a mission to buy a guitar. And I've been on crews like this before. It's super. If you haven't done it, find your guitar buddies. Go out. I know a guy's going to Denmark Street in London soon, and he's gonna come back.
Really cool.
He knows he's buying something. He doesn't know what, but he's getting something there, which is neat. Like we've had people come to the casino that they're on the guitar safari. They're getting something. I've done it before. I did it out at Wildwood. It was fun. You go with friends, and everybody's going to get something.
It's kind of fun.
You've done it at Gibson with some of our customers at the garage.
Yeah, I'm going where they've showed up to look for things.
You and Sean
they
drive
had
out
ideas of what they were getting, but
but
still
you know,
sort of so far.
But it was so funny because this happens all the time. You go there, you're gonna have this whole weekend. You go there day one, you're thinking about it. You go back next day. Half the time you go there, within 30 minutes, you know what you want, and you're buying it right then.
Oh, that was our friend Jack, right? Like we were there about every bit of 10 minutes.
So
he's like, that's it, I'm buying it. I'm getting it right now. Like, we got days, man. No,
you can probably see yourself and our friend Jack there, because that's a lot of folks doing the guitar safari, and that's where it is fun when you have your posse with you, but also a shop that's great to work with, trusting, and like and you don't feel like you're getting taken advantage of.
Well, here's this is part of this video. This could be a whole another video too, but like I think Jack did the right thing, because when you know, you know.
Yes.
So it's nice when you're in a place where you can also trust that the thing that you know about is what it's supposed to be, right? Like that's the premium of being in a shop like that, like at a Guitar Safari or whatever, where you this is fine.
My think about moments, like where I've thought about not gotten it, I have regretted those.
I've had some of those.
I don't think I've ever really regretted buying something. I don't think I have, because I'm pretty careful in my purchases, but when it's the right guitar and like I'm really feeling it, I just get it. It's your gut. So just wrapping up, again, thanks for joining us. Click like, subscribe.
Hit the bell.
This has been a fun, exciting journey down there. Understand like what you are paying for in the shop. Theoretically, they're validating the authenticity of this guitar for you as much as they possibly can. It's a precarious world out there now. Not saying that there's lots of forgeries. There are. We saw those 3,000 fake Gibsons that just got seized, but a pot getting changed, a switch getting changed, a wire getting changed, a resolder here. How much does that matter to you? How much are you willing to pay for that? How much does the security of a store matter to you? How much does getting a stellar deal matter to you? That's all the questions you got to ask yourself when you're going into it. And then at the end of the day, have fun, enjoy it. If you're not having fun doing this, you're doing the wrong thing. Take up pickleball.
It's life or death. What are you talking about?
Don't take up pickleball. That sound is just infuriating.
It can be fun. It looks fun. It's like giant ping pong.
It's like tennis for people that don't want to play tennis. I love saying that because I get so much anger when I say that.
Very mad. I couldn't believe that it's like this big business now.
Oh yeah, it's like
grown up ping pong. How much? Jesus. But yeah.
We bought a set for my family.
Did you?
I mean, they're budget set, I'm sure.
The little cheap set. They're all together. Yeah.
Yeah. The Amazon type thing.
Yeah.
Those aren't real.
People are like getting legit
$400 pickleball.
Is it a paddle? Is it a racket? I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's a paddle.
They're croquet mounts. We're leaving you. Thanks for joining us. I think that's a lot of fun. Good luck in your safaris. And we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.